marks up top. No. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Old Harley Chambers. Is that still going to be the hotel?
Yes. Can you hear us okay, Bridget?
It's 200 beds. 200 bed.
How are you guys? How are you?
They're finding it difficult.
It's being knocked down at the moment.
It's being knocked down.
Start.
Can you say something again, Bridget? You're a little bit quiet before.
Hello, testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you. Great. All right. We are live and ready to get into our information session for today. So first up, we have apologies from Sam McDonald. He's not going to be available today. And obviously Bridget is joining us on Zoom. And so first up, we have our Waimairo-Harewood intersection. So Gemma, would you like to come and take a seat?
Builder. Okay, so I'm here today to talk about the Waimairo-Harewood intersection. So this came through as a community board request a few years ago now, to review the combined through and right turn lanes. So the current layout can lead to blocked traffic and people undertaking, as well as abrupt lane changes to go around people waiting to turn right. The unmarked curbside lane can also create some uncertainty for drivers and cyclists if they're both going ahead as well as someone undertaking. So there's potential for a lot of conflicts at the intersection, and there's no real dedicated cycling facilities provided either. So we had a look at updated safety, the safety risk at the intersection. So we've had 23 crashes in 10 years. I've removed anything that's happened to the west of the intersection because Oliver will cover that off in his presentation. But we still have a right turn failing to give way. And some of that is because people sometimes don't wait enough while people are turning. They're not seeing what's coming and they're assuming, I guess, what people are going to do, and that's not the case, and misjudging gaps. And obviously, as with other intersections, we have a problem with red light running. The confusing lane layout was identified in 2 crashes, and then we had some at the angle parking on Greers Road as well, with people reversing out into traffic. It's quite a busy intersection. We get roughly about 2 bright turning vehicles per signal phase coming from Greers Road and from the north, and we've got around 270 cyclists travelling through the intersection on all the different approaches. We completed a parking survey that was at the request from a previous briefing that we did to the board in 2023. So there's around 126 parking spaces across the shopping centre. Peak occupancy is around 66%, and parking demand remained below the usual 85% utilisation threshold. So there is spare parking capacity available in the area. The zone outside the shops on Greers Road had an average occupancy of around 4 cars parked. But there is peak demand occurring in the evening peak. You've got the pizza shop there and the restaurant, so it does get quite busy. And the surrounding parking does have spare capacity as well. So when we brought the proposal to you back then, the proposal was to introduce the separate right turn lanes on Greers Road, combined through and left lane, so it's generally more of a standard intersection layout. Cycle lanes and hold boxes, hook turns, replacing the angled car parking with parallel parking, changing some parking from P60 to P10, and providing timed parking to the west of the shops as well. Following that briefing, we were asked to speak to the shop owners and County who manage that centre. And there was some concerns around the removal of the angled parking because ultimately we reduced it down to about 6 car parks. We effectively halved it when we removed the angled car parks. And so we heard from 14 stakeholders that didn't support the proposal. 7 did, and they were generally around support for improving safety. But again, there was the concerns about the removal of parking. And then, as always, when we ask for feedback, we get further requests. So there was requests for lower vehicle speeds, improved cycle safety, retaining the parking. And then we did those parking occupancy surveys that were asked for, and we considered some alternative layouts. And we did look at alternative layouts. We looked at things like raised platforms, speed calming devices. But currently, to keep it within the budget that we've got, we are looking to remove 2 angled car parks so that we get the right turn bays and the opposing right turn lanes that we would like. We don't necessarily improve things for cycling on Greers Road, but we're not making it any worse, which is something that we obviously couldn't do. And then we get to put the cycle lanes and things on Waimāero Road because we know a lot of kids bike through there from school. So we do propose to lose 2 car parks, but we're hoping that in balancing all the different demands and conflicts, something that the shops would be okay with. Through engagement, I would like to talk to them about the parking types. They are P60s. That could change to support the dairy and things a little bit better maybe. And we can also still look between the bus stop and the driveway. There's some unrestricted car parking as well, whether that could be further time to restrict to support the businesses. On-site observations, the daycare centre, most parents are pulling in to do their drop off and pick up. So it really is I guess supporting the shops and the businesses on Greers Road through there. There's no changes to parking currently proposed on Wairaki or on Greers as well. There is a project down by the school to look at a pedestrian island. And I think we'll just look to see whether we can connect the 2 cycle facilities. The cycle lanes currently stop outside the school. And it might be beneficial to see if we can just connect up the 2 as well before we take anything out to consultation. So benefits, yep, safer lane arrangements, reduce conflicts between through and turning, improving cycling provisions where we can, improving the pedestrian crossings at the signals, minimising the changes to parking, and it would be delivered alongside essential signal renewal works. And Oliver will talk a little bit more about the bigger program that's coming. But yep, it'll be good to get your feedback today, and then we will take the plan out for local stakeholder engagement and then get into detailed design and deliver as part of any signal renewal project that's coming up. And again, Oliver will talk more about the program for aligning some works with the 3 borders. Any questions?
Questions, Tone? Aaron?
Yeah, just if you go back to the diagram, yeah, that one there. So with the red that says proposed curb, how much of that's already there? Is that all new?
So some of that's renewal, some of the existing curb shop. But at the actual signals, we would look to separate out the pedestrian crosswalks. So there's some curb alignment, some curb changes there. But the actual new curb would just be, does this have a shiny thing?
It's the red bits or not?
It's generally the red bits, and where that white car park is, where the angled car parking is,
Yep.
closest to the red line, just that section through there would be new curb as well.
Right. Yeah, that one made sense. So do any of the curbs go any further out than they currently do?
No, so there's
Okay, that's all right.
yeah,
Just because it's tight for
it's tight.
the 90-degree corners already, and I thought if we were going further, it'd make up. No, that's all good. Makes sense.
Are we expected to put a disabled car park in any there? Is there, does there need to be anything there?
I don't think we're expected to, but it's something that we can talk to the business owners about if there would be a benefit.
I mean, I'm just not sure if it would be on.
You put it at the end
Or on Greers. You're probably better up the other end.
at Wairaki,
Yeah, than
more
Greers.
space.
Yeah.
Although you could potentially, where they're taking away the 2 car parks, you could use the spare width for one there. Obviously, that'll be up to you guys whether you want to put it that close to the corner, but you've now got that extra space.
Yeah, I just sort of think, because I just noticed that there's nothing obviously there, and whether we're compelled to do it or not, I'd support doing something like that if we had to.
Yeah, and yeah, the location that Councillor Kieran raised would be a good location because we can put a cut down in easily so they can get in and out of the and it's nearest the chemist as well.
Yeah. I just sort of think that might be.
Take a look.
And the second question, if I can, these are in the centre of the road? Because if you're going to turn, that's what these are for, aren't they? So that you come along, you stop and then you go along, or if you just go there.
Yeah, so I guess it's providing a space for more confident cyclists to turn right from that location. The hook turns are there, I guess, for people like me who are just too scared to move into the right turn lane. So I'll always do a hook turn, but yeah, it's just providing a space for them to wait.
And what's how much of that which are being used the most? Are they both used similar or?
In terms of cycling,
Yeah.
the cycling numbers are slightly busy going through
Oh,
Waimāero.
sorry, I mean on those different turn things. So you got the right one as well as the hook turn. What's most popular? Yeah, that stat.
There's only like
Sometimes I
150
try and be a
something.
bit onto it. Where are we looking?
Yeah, but if you run over one of them, you're about.
It's actually really low. The right turning, left turning numbers are generally in the 1s and 2s. Most people biking are going straight through.
Oh,
I mean, that might just be because of the current setup of those
Yep.
through and
Yeah.
right turns. You'd have to be pretty confident to be doing that maneuver. From the
just
shed
I'm doing
through.
the right one in front of the lane.
So is the reason for the loss of the two parks there just so that there aren't people backing out into the turning lane and there's room for traffic to be able to actually back up there? Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's only a short left turn lane, but the current numbers suggest that we can hold the demand in that left turn lane.
Yep.
And it just means that the width available for people on bikes and for traffic is the same as what's there now, so we're not changing the level of service.
Yeah, as someone, I drive through that intersection every day and, you know, you see people in the left-hand lane pulling out. I see it on a daily basis. So I think those types of these improvements broadly will be pretty beneficial for that intersection. Question around the parking timing is, so Mary Ann may or may not have mentioned it to you guys already. We literally had the County guys and a couple of the business owners reach out about restricted parking on the Wairakei Road part, because what's happening is that during some of that, you know, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock period, the pub patrons are parking there, and that's actually, I suggest, reducing parking, and that's actually a peak time for them from the business perspective. So they were keen to see what we could do around changing the parking timing on that Wairakei Road side, as well as not just the Greers Road.
So the Wairakei Road angle car park.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll let Oliver talk to that.
yeah, sure. Okay.
Just trying to keep clean lines between the two projects.
Yeah, I wasn't, yeah.
But no, it's all good. The parking survey was done across the whole centre, so we should have some data, and certainly if it's not being used as intended, then it's a chance to investigate something different.
Aaron?
So just something else that sprang to mind looking at that, since you're redoing the curbs, what did you consider where the big curb is there, that stealing a metre or so and then putting a marked cycle lane like you got on the others, you know, just the wee one. Consider that?
So I'm already moving the curb.
Oh, you already are?
Yeah, to get that little left turn lane in.
Right, okay.
There's some
that's fine.
huge infrastructure
Yeah,
there.
no, that's good. You're already done. Sweet, thank you. That makes sense. I just thought I'd better ask now, but yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Doesn't look like there are any other questions on that one.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
I have a question, sorry.
Nice, thank you.
Trying to get there. Super.
yeah, Bridget, was there anything from you? Sorry. Didn't,
Yeah. No, that's all good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. I just had a question. The 14 people who opposed, sorry if I missed this, but is there any more information about who they are? For example, are they business owners, or are they just, are they residents in the area? Can you give us a bit more detail about who were those that opposed, if you can?
So from my understanding, the concerns were from the businesses. I wasn't involved in the project at that time, so I can dig that information out for you and send it back through if that would be useful. But yeah, I would believe it was the businesses, and I think the school and spokes maybe were then on the other side asking for further improvements.
Yeah. I think just with that, I mean, a big part of the success of this is going to be making sure that the businesses are on board with this. And I know we can't please everyone, but I think, you know, as community board members, we also represent businesses too. So it's going to be about how we can come up with a design that also, doesn't impact them too much as well, or at least they understand the rationale for why we're doing it, so they aren't completely opposed to what's being designed. I think that's important.
Yeah, hopefully the compromise option does sit a little bit better with them. I'm definitely happy to go door knocking and talk to them and get their feedback.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Right, thank you very much. Right, next up then, Oliver and the Waimaero Road Street Renewal section. And Jacob, you're going to join?
I'll just come and sit.
Right, all yours.
Evening, everyone. My name's Oliver Manan. I'm the project manager for the Waimaero Road Street Renewal. So a bit of background here. So the section of Waimaero Road is in quite poor condition. The shop, the surface is failing. There is a wastewater and water supply renewal that's going to be starting shortly, starting from Aorangi, working its way out of town. And so the decision was made to bring forward this street renewal to combine it with those essential three waters works. And the aim of that is to reduce disruption by doing all of the work at once and not having to come back to this area for quite some time. So the scope of this project is between Greers Road and Grams Road. This is a full boundary to boundary renewal, which means it's the whole road, it's the road pavement, it's the curb and channel, and also the footpaths on both sides. And so while we're here, there's an opportunity to make changes, noting that this would be the most cost-effective time to do any changes that the community want. So a few options here are build-outs, pedestrian refuge island, cycle lanes, and changing the angle parking to parallel. So that brings me to the intent of this workshop, which is to gather your feedback in terms of which options you would be open to us exploring in the scheme design phase. So a bit of existing road environment information. So this is about 10,000 vehicles a day, so it's very busy, 85th percentile speed, 50 k's an hour, and there's been 11 crashes reported in the last 10 years. So the first option that I'll run through is curb build-outs. So Springbank Street, this adjoins Waimaero Road near the shops. So the current intersection is quite wide and difficult to cross. So narrowing it would make it easier for people walking across the street by reducing the distance they have to travel. This would align with the CCC's infrastructure design standards, which are the ones that we, for new subdivisions, we would be following. And it would come at the cost of potentially one car park just on the corner there. But this would be consistent with similar side roads along Waimaero Road as you head towards town. The other option we have as well is painted on-road cycle lanes. So in terms of network context here, there are cycle lanes from about the Waimaero School heading all the way in towards town. And there also are painted cycle lanes approaching the Grams Road intersection. There's been a cycle count done. So it was at two locations. One was near the school and one was further out in the Burnside direction. And that records that there's about 200 to 300 people biking per day along Waimaero Road, and of which there's about 15 to 20% school children. So this would provide a safer cycling option essentially, and also provide a more consistent treatment with the remainder of Waimaero Road. And also it would retain parking on both sides, so there wouldn't be any impact in terms of parking. This is just an example of another time when a street renewal was used as an opportunity to change the curb alignments and make some changes while a full boundary to boundary renewal was happening. So on the left, back in 2008, you can see same situation as we have up the road, deep dish gutter, very wide. And as part of the street renewal project, there was some build outs and some cycle lanes installed. So a pedestrian refuge island near the shops is another option. There are people crossing Waimaero Road along here. We've obviously got shops on both sides. It's a very busy area. And so the refuge island would essentially make it easier to get across the road. And noting as well that further down Wairakei Road, there are a lot of refuge islands. And so this would be quite a consistent treatment with the remainder of this corridor. However, there would be a potential parking loss of up to 4, and that would just be on the northern side of the intersection there. And then the last one is parking changes between Springbank Street to Greers Road. So the issue here, as Gemma talked about with her presentation, there's an issue with reversing into the traffic lane as people are getting in and out of the parking. And as a result, there's been 3 crashes in the last 10 years of specifically people reversing into the traffic lane. You've also got the fact that it's downstream from the intersection. So people might be going quite quickly through there to clear through the intersection. And so a potential solution here would be to convert the angle parking to parallel parking, and it would obviously take away that reversing hazard and improve safety for all road users. And that would be a reduction from 19 angle parks down to 9 parallel parks. However, the parking occupancy has been surveyed and is less than 60% according to the 2023 survey. And it would also allow painted cycle lanes to be installed on this section, with the context being that, you know, there's quite a lot of people cycling down here. So the next steps would be to complete the investigations, prepare a scheme, engage with the community, and then a decision. Thank you. Any questions?
There might be a few on this one. James.
Yeah, just for clarity, that the painted cycleway option on, number 2, how does that differ from the parking changes? Or to ask that another way, would the cycleway mean that those parking changes go ahead as well? Because
so you can do them separately.
That would be separate. But option 4 then could be essentially both of those.
Yes, I mean, we've tried to split them up into 2 bits. One that's kind of low impact, you get cycle lanes in with almost no downside, and the other bit where obviously there's quite a large downside.
So with that's the installation of painted cycle lanes, though, would that still retain angular parking though, which is kind of what is the problem, is it?
So the other bit, the 2, is from Springbank up, so it doesn't affect this section at all. So essentially you'd end up with a gap in cycle provision from the intersection up to Springbank.
No, you've cleared that up for me. Thanks.
Or Ben first.
I have a question about Springbank Street. How wide is it at the moment?
It's about 13 metres to cross at the moment.
And we're bringing it down to 9, is it?
Yeah, between 7 and 9, depending on the scheme design. Yep.
And what's the ballpark cost for doing something like that?
I don't have the numbers at hand at the moment, but what essentially doing this type of change at the same time as a street renewal, where all, I guess as background, all of those curbs would need replacing regardless of the design outcome. So then that cost wouldn't be substantial in the scheme of things.
Are we redoing Springbank Street or just Wairakei Road?
Just Wairakei, but there would be a little bit into Springbank, so there'd be some cost associated with it, but it would be no end. If you ever wanted to do it, you're never going to get it cheaper than doing it when you're doing Wairakei, is there? I think that what this is the point we're getting across.
That we're effectively spending however much money it's going to cost to do that to effectively gain 3 more metres. If you walked further down the road narrows back in and you can cross as per normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but this is probably where people are crossing. Normally people go, if you're walking along, you get to the corner and you keep going. And so that's what we're trying to do. It also manages speed coming around the corner.
I think that
that was my next point, because it makes it more difficult to turn from Wairakei Road and Springbank Street.
Yeah, so it slows you down.
Yeah, so it slows you down, yeah.
No,
It's
got nothing to do with slowing down. What I'm saying is that we've got all these road changes to try and encourage better traffic flow, and then we're making it more difficult to turn, because I can tell you right now, as soon as you turn left into Wairakei Road, most people are at least a car's width away from the curb, and it's going to block the traffic coming in. I just don't know if we're getting very much advantage of doing that.
But that's the point of this second, is essentially if there are options that you don't want us to explore, because exploring options costs us money and takes us time.
Absolutely.
And so if it's never something you're going to entertain, then let's rule it off the table now, and we'll put the curbs back where they are effectively.
I don't know if that's necessarily view the whole board shares, but it is worth considering those options. I guess the key piece of information from my perspective on that one is the cost differential. Because I guess, like you said, if you're doing curbing anyway, I guess what's the cost differential between if you're having to rip up curb and just leave it as it was versus that adjustment there to bring it in further.
Yeah.
That's probably the difference between those. So from a cost perspective, and then any potential impact on traffic flows.
Because it's not just the curb, is it? Because we've got landscaping. It looks as though from that photo that it's going to be pavers for the entrance as well. So it's not just a matter of going, well, we're replacing the curb, so we'll put in a closer curb. There's also
It doesn't have to have pavers. In fact, we're trying to move away from pavers because they settle and they cause us problems. So it probably wouldn't have. It's just that's an example of a similar scheme that's been done before that we've put in just to sort of help you visualize it.
David, you go.
Yeah, I'm not really very comfortable with making that narrower. I tend to think you're going to end up with people rear-ending. You're going to come along, want to turn left, you're going to have to brake, try and make the turn because it's not as wide. It doesn't seem to be a very efficient corner or effective to be able to do a right-hand corner or a left-hand turn. I mean, we're talking about the dangers potentially of having an angular parking that because the cars go through quickly. Well, if we're having to then slow somebody down because somebody's going to have to try and take that corner, then we're also asking for a problem. So therefore, we should actually keep it so that people can, facilitate a turn without the fear of having somebody rear-end them.
This is a reasonably standard intersection type here. So for context as well, Springbank Street is quite low volume. It's around 800 vehicles per day. And so this design, or what we could explore, wouldn't be anything different to any other arterial versus local road intersection. And those issues could be managed throughout the design as well.
Just not comfortable with it.
Question from me. So my biggest concern here is the parallel parking versus the angle parking. I think you're going to get significant pushback from the shops in that area. I think it would be worth proposing two options, and one being leave it as is and the other one with that one. But from a parking occupancy perspective, you would need to be far more granular in your parking occupancy numbers, because I'd say from the business's perspective, there's probably like a 2-hour window in the morning and in the afternoon, which is the most important to them. And so it might be 60% across a period of time, but what is the occupancy over that 2-hour window? And I imagine, while parallel parking is safer if it's empty, you can get in there. But if you've got one gap in the middle and it's a busy street and people are having to parallel park on Wairakei Road to try and get in there, then you're actually going to have as many issues potentially of someone trying to get in there. And to be fair, most people probably just aren't, as opposed to someone who can just zip into the parallel park, even when there's a lot of traffic coming, because again, go up and down here every day. The benefit of the parallel parking is that you can get in quickly, so you don't disrupt the traffic behind you so much, and then you just have to be a little bit more patient getting out, waiting for a gap. But you don't really have a choice in a parallel situation like that. So I'd say that the businesses will probably be quite concerned, A, with the loss of parking, and then B, the difficulty if you have, people parking in 3 or 4 of them, and then there's the odd gap, people will just refuse to go in there. And then also the fact that, they've currently got concerns during peak times with the pub across the road filling those parks up. So that will probably just be a flag there around the parallel design, from my perspective. Anyone else have
I just had a question, around the parking, where we come up with 60% occupancy. Did you say that was from 2023? Correct. Have we got?
No, at this stage, this project is just kicking off. Like I said, we know 3 waters are coming through.
Yes.
We're up against it in order to get this project through. So I just don't want to spend time investigating stuff that you're never going to.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I just, if when we say it's 2023 data, obviously things have changed a lot around there since then. So yeah. So maybe
if we came back with options, we would do another parking assessment and we would come back with that data.
Perfect, thank you.
One last one for me. Oliver, thank you. I realise it's your first time talking to us. One of the things that we're particularly quite adamant around in this board, particularly myself, is around when we put out the procurement plan to do this, we have to instruct for double shifting on the work gangs, 6 days a week, or and if it's or night works if it's through the major intersection. So what I mean by that is the work gangs need to start at 6 AM and finish at 10 PM. So that would be a mandatory from perspective of the board, because all of that street usage, we want to be in and out as fast as we can for the residents.
Yep, no, definitely agree and can take that on board in terms of procurement planning.
Yep.
And that is also sort of around the background of this project, is combining those works is aimed at essentially minimising that community disruption as well.
Aaron?
Yeah, on that, we'll take the wrath of the neighbours being upset about the noise, more than happy. Because we get people always say just work longer, harder, louder, but not be there as long.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet versus, yeah, so, yeah, we're more than happy. I know some boards don't like that, but we're happy to take the flak. So my question will be around the trees. Is there change to any of the trees there, or are all the trees fine, none of the breaking infrastructure currently or likely to?
So the trees are quite close to the existing curb as it stands. And so we will be looking at the condition of the trees and how they might be affected by the works. At this stage, most of the trees are in the Springbank to Graham section.
Yep.
There's quite a number of them there. And I would essentially be reinstating the curb lines in the existing locations there.
Yep.
And so we will be talking with the arborist to get their insight into how to protect them.
Yeah, it's more the longer term are the trees likely to be damaging any of the infrastructure we're putting in for 50 odd years? We're going back in 10 or 15 to fix broken gutters. And there's two options around that. One is either the tree comes out now and we put in an appropriate tree, or the odd build out where you go past the tree. If it's a really substantial, good looking tree, we might go, actually, we will put a build out around that one and that one type thing. I don't know, rather than fixing broken gutters for years.
We'll note that and come back in the
Yeah.
decision. I think
Yeah,
that's probably a good point.
But just because you're looking for, so one other question, with the painted on cycleways, I've asked it in other places, can we experiment with a rumble strip?
We don't usually put rumble strips
I know, that's what I'm asking.
areas because of the noise.
Yeah.
So
Because of the
obviously
what, noise?
yeah, so when vehicles crack across them, they make a great loud rumble.
That means you're driving in the bike lane.
It does, but it also
Yeah.
wakes up the rest of the complain.
Well, it rakes up the people who drink right from a brown jug as well, before they plough into a parked car. But yeah, so we wouldn't for that reason.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
I think we've tried it in some places. I'll see if we can find some information for you.
Yeah, even that, or even you could have cat's eyes the whole way along, but I don't know, what's your spacing? It wouldn't be a rumble strip if you did every 10 metres with a coloured cat's eye, just to create it. It's a form of separation.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's pretty tiny, it's not going to stop you from getting hit, but it does remind a motorist as they hit something that the next thing they hit might be a bit bigger. That's all. So that one, and then just because you're looking for direction, we might as well ask the whole board now, would anyone here sign off taking out the angle parking?
No.
No.
No, okay, so that's pretty clear.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Just, and then the side street, is anyone going to sign off the narrow off of the side street? Do we even want to see the design, or are we happy to say no at this point?
I personally would want to put it to the residents and see what the
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my preference.
And I would say on that, Aaron, like, it is clear that the angle parking does pose a problem, but this is quite, a busy little commercial area there. It's,
Yeah, I like angle parking.
Community there.
I think it's great.
I just think that, it could be disproportionately, unfair on those businesses there that are pretty reliant.
Take it
on
out.
that.
Yeah. That's why I'd keep it. And I think 3 rear enders in 10 years in a business district's not, I think that's acceptable. I know we aim for
It's not
0,
ideal.
but
I mean, what we try and do is manage harm.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's a car slowly bumping into the back of another car, I mean,
Not the end of the
it's
world.
not the end of the world. It's people running over pedestrians,
Yeah,
people
and
high
cyclists.
speed crashing.
Yeah.
That's what we're more worried about.
Motorised.
On that, I'm so sorry, because I know you got a question there, and while we're normally sort of opposed to this, and I wouldn't mention the war in terms of like the Lincoln Road examples, but is this a place where actually having, you know, like a Judaba or a raised platform there, which actually does slow people down?
James.
No, when you, but look, it's no.
Green on today.
When literally beyond intersection.
You meaning?
Angle parking.
Yeah.
I totally understand that someone that's running a red light and you've got someone that's reversing out of an angle park, you'd have to be bloody stupid to go, let's not actually touch a solution that would actually slow people down. Now, I'm the last person that would want to do that at all intersections, but when you've got angled parking that is following an intersection, maybe that's a time where a modest sort of raised platform at that point is actually serving a genuine solution. Yeah.
So at the intersection.
As you go onto, as you cross.
So you've crossed the intersection. So there's one maybe where the pedestrian line is. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I'm saying, so on the Little Brown Jug side of the intersection on Wairakei Road, our trade-off is that we're saying, look, this angle parking is a lifeblood to the businesses there, and you're going to lose a bucket load of your parking if we make it safer by just having parallel parking. But in that instance, if there is a method by just having a raised platform at that area there, which actually does slow people down, you know, 10 Ks or something like that, that's a fair trade-off. You know, we're not usually dealing with angle parking there, but look, the alternative is we have no bump there and all the angle parking goes, and I don't think that that's probably an outcome that we'd want to pursue. So I'm not saying that it's necessarily something that I'd jump at. I'm just saying, is that something that we look at as
You mean if they did some sort of audit and come back and said, look, we believe that it has to go,
I just
because the people are too fast.
So I just thought it was a very valid point where you've got red light runners there, and it's probably someone that you know floors it a bit to get the orange light, and then you've got someone that is reversing out of an angle park. So just given where the angle parking is, literally a stone's throw from that intersection, that's probably a place where you go, it makes a bit of sense for people to go.
You're not talking the whole thing, you're just talking the pedestrian line, so erase
side of
on in the pedestrian line, because that would make sense.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that it's something that I'm rushing to sign off as well. I know you and I both were in agreement.
Should we?
You'd like to see the option.
Yeah, like, it might be
Worth
worth
looking
thinking,
at
what
if
other traffic calming options are there available to us potentially as a mitigation for that angle parking?
It's a way of increasing safety, but.
Because you're not very often getting through there at much over 30 anyway, most of the time. So if you can get over it at 30 and it doesn't, so that means I can handle that.
And I'm also not suggesting it on the eastern
No, just the one.
side of Greers or the southern end of Wairakei, but it's the one that is basically the closest to the angle parking. If you're looking at retaining the angle parking, because it's important, if there's a potential mitigation to shave off 5 kilometres.
Yeah, and only the pedestrian line means you use way less asphalt than doing the whole platform.
Yeah. And so I don't know if there's any merit in that, but it seems like it could be not the silliest of trade-offs.
You're open to entertaining the idea.
Yeah, well, it's worth looking at.
You heard it here first.
Either one. What if it was 30 Ks?
We can't make that 30K.
So we have to
Under the current law, we could potentially make it 40. There's probably an argument that you could make it 40, but you couldn't make it 30.
If we were looking to
Because it's
mitigate
light
like
arterial.
Because of the setting of the speed limits rule, it's quite prescriptive around where you can use 30, where you can't, and unless we try and pretend this is a route into a beach, we're not going to manage to get it 30.
In my view,
Climate
it's, I
change
think
will be.
it's like you can signpost stuff all you want, but ultimately the dictator of speed is really going to be the treatment of the street.
Yeah.
A lot more science is. So, you know, if there was something that was raised that just, so I'm not a super aggressive one, but one that's enough that actually takes your foot off the accelerator for a moment, it probably makes sense when the next thing you're going to see is potentially someone reversing out of an angle park. And maybe that's a fair trade-off to keep that sort of level of parking.
Do you mind if I ask a question back? Sorry. Would you be open to things like texture changes, such as we've got up Madras Street?
Instead of a race?
Instead of a raise, like if we were to investigate both, because I sort of think the safety bump, I'm happy to investigate it, but it does very much go against the council resolution that we had a couple of
Okay.
months ago.
Yeah, so
And I
so,
mean,
well, that's like the.
we can do it in extreme circumstances, but
Yeah, it is.
a texture change might also be.
I don't like raised platforms, but as a rule of thumb, but when you've got this number of angular parking with people that have to reverse out to oncoming traffic.
So I guess the question is, wanting to keep the angle parking, what else can we do to
manage the
manage
safety
it.
issue.
Yeah.
texture, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Can you come back with an
I'm a big fan of texture changes.
That's in line with like the rumble line kind of, well, on the same sort of track.
Because I doubt you'll get much pushback on it from the
No,
community.
that
If you
sounds
say
sensible.
you can keep 19 car parks if we have X
texture
change
change.
or whatever.
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
You lose 10 and we go to 9 if you don't want.
You got a parallel park on Waimāero Road.
I do apologise, I went off on a tangent.
Imagine if you got any yips.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Imagine if you got.
About the parallel parking thing, you can say I'm wrong, but is that not worse for stopping traffic flow? Because if you're like,
And it just-
there's only one park in here, then someone's got to stop and wait and be like, oh, everyone else go around while I reverse in and like kind of.
you're not doing it blind. That's
Do you-
the thing. I know that.
Do you know
a
what
lot
I
of
mean?
modern
It's like
cars
when you,
Yeah.
when you, like if I'm like parallel parking in like Manchester.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've got to wait here and then I've either got to hold up
Yeah.
the 20 cars behind me while I really awkwardly and quite terribly reverse into and try and parallel about 6 minutes. Like, does that,
Liking.
yeah, does that not like,
Yeah,
Big.
it can do. Like I said, if you've got some cars, I mean, I know, like I said, modern cars have got cameras on the back, but a lot of cars still don't. And when you're coming out, you are completely blind until literally half your car is in the live traffic lane. So that's the big difference, is that when you're going in and out, you've got visibility behind you.
Oh,
A technical
Yeah.
question, are the angles that you go in, are they prescribed? I mean, if you plus or minus the degree by, let's say, 10 or 15 degrees, does that make?
I don't know.
Is it something that,
So you're aware
I mean, it's a very technical thing, I wouldn't,
You mean the angle of the angle?
yeah,
The thing is, if you adjust the angles to make it easy to see when you come.
come out, because you know, if you've
No, it's the
got a bit more
vehicles that are
space
there.
towards that other street.
So generally, we have either 45, 60 or 90. The 90 ones generally give us more because of the angle, and it's also easier to get in and out. But generally, the safety of it is, if you're like in my car, which is like a little Swift, and I'm parked next to a 4x4,
Yeah.
I can't see regardless. So I'm always going to be backing out blind until a certain point where I can see.
Yeah.
So regardless of the angle, it's always the same.
One other observation I did make when I was looking at the CCTV camera, which points down Wairākei Road, is that, yeah, people would reverse out, and then that once they got into the traffic lane, the car heading through would have to slam on its brakes. So there's probably that unpredictability and you know, someone's just popping out in front of you, whereas at least a parallel park, as painful as it can be, at least you can see the car and you can see what they're doing, and
Even if you don't like Nicola.
I agree about, I'm saying about parallel parks. And I think it's also about awareness and people driving consciously as well, which they can choose not to. But I just have a question. I know we talked about the possibility of the paraplegic park on the other side, but what if we took one of the, because it's really the main difficulty is, I think, when you're turning around there, if you're on that, I do not park in that very first car park. You know, when you're turning, I go there quite a bit. I never park there because if I reverse out, people come around the corner really fast. But could we not make one of those parks?
Make it dangerous for the people in a
In a
motor.
minute, but I mean, they don't park, there's not as many. I'm just saying, no, I just wonder, you know, there's not as, there's not as many. There's not often used. I don't know, I just.
And it could be that there's some, I guess like we've done around on Greers Road, that we could compromise and maybe lose one or two at the
Yeah.
start to improve that.
To start to improve, because it is, yeah.
Then for the length of that right turn lane, and then after that, you might be able to get the cycle lane in
Yeah.
with a buffer and the angle park. So I think it's just something Oliver can take.
Yeah,
in.
I just thought maybe those, just that one, yeah, that's all, that could be another compromise, okay, I know they have
So
to.
it'll be interesting to see with this one, because we did some parks outside on Staveley Street, outside the Staveley Street shops. And the visibility is so bad. Now that we've done that, but so it'll be interesting to see what we can come up with on this that can be applied somewhere else, because that is a concern, but you can't see that. So
Same on Waimāero too, by.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yes, yeah, the Savely one, because it comes back on itself, you can't see the car until it's halfway around the corner, and then it's a metre from the first car park. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I hope that gives you something useful then to work with in terms of options and be open to.
I've just got a quick question.
Yep.
So I guess two points. One is totally, I agree with what Jason was saying around the parallel parks. Like, I have a camera and everything, and if I see a really tight parallel park that I'm going to have to do, I would rather not park there than have to like publicly humiliate myself and hold up traffic at the back. Like, and that's an example of then me not using that car park. And so you almost run the risk of designing, I know it's about safety, but you run the risk of designing parks and safety, but then even though there are parks, some people might not even use them because, like me, I'm not exactly a confident parallel parker. So there's that. But the other thing I just wanted to pick up was David's note around having this being constructed in a way where we can do it quickly. And I know there's a little bit of controversy around, you know, having contractors into the night working on this because it means that there'll be noise at nighttime. So what I thought would be quite good in terms of feedback to when you're putting this out there to get engagement from the community is it would be quite interesting to know how long is this project going to take if we just were to undertake this massive, you know, intersection road project, given the normal times of what we ask our contractors to do versus what will the time frame be if we had the contractors and the road workers working into the extended nights or extended hours that David was suggesting, because I think having that information and data means if people were anti the option of contractors working past normal hours, then at least we can see, well, if you don't want that option, then you know how long this project is going to take. So I think having both sets of time would be quite fascinating. That's just a bit of feedback when it comes to getting engagement and getting that information out there to residents so they can kind of decide, oh, actually maybe it is worth a few nights of things being a bit louder, because it means that the traffic isn't going to, you know, that the road isn't going to be as it's not going to be as congested, and the project's going to get it's going to finish quicker, even if we are having to deal with a bit of noise after hours.
Thanks, Bridget. Yeah, just to echo that too, just thinking about the Arangi corner shops, like the quicker that you guys get in and out of there, there will be some measured level of disruption to those businesses, which will impact their livelihood. So having that option there and then seeing the feedback from the commercial properties there versus the residents and being able to weigh up if we can carve out, if we can take a month or 2 or 3 weeks off that time, you probably see quite a big difference potentially in that, and then that gives us some really good information to weigh up. So yeah. Okay, any last questions there for anyone, or we can wrap that up? No.
Just to clarify then, you don't want us to explore option 4.
Yep.
You want us to look at the safety bumps or texture changes to manage speeds past the angle parking. You want us to look at the condition of trees and assets nearby and see if there's things we can do to manage that. I picked up disabled parking and potentially timed parking as well. Yep. So look at some options around that. And then construction methodology, what we can do in that space. Yeah, okay.
And then both options on that curb build out, because I think we're a little bit mixed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you an option that's with it or do nothing. But we will build up to that and come back to proper data and a proper
Shouldn't
design.
all the angle parking be timed on both sides?
What's
the? There's no benefit in anyone.
It is now, but some of it isn't short enough. We want
so all of it is currently timed.
Yeah.
Shop
So
They want 10-minute one.
Yeah.
To give them enforcement options when people at the pub are parking in there during that peak time.
Right, sweet.
Maybe that we can just do some as I don't know, some is 10 minutes, some is
Yeah,
hours,
yeah,
some
yeah,
is
yeah,
hours
yeah.
or something, and yeah, but we can look at some options for that based on what we see in the parking service.
Because half the time it's the shop owners or staff.
Yeah, when they called, he did say there was one or there was two of them that are parking there, but the rest of
Around
the
the
rest,
corner.
the one with the Hummer taking up all the, right up to the shop. Okay, no, that's great.
Wonderful.
We can wrap
Thank
that
you very
up there.
much.
Thanks very much, guys.
Well done. First one done.
Thanks, Bridget.